yes.
That came in hard.
It did. It did. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Antigravity Podcast again. And if you're recognizing there's something slightly different, we have video in the house.
Yes, sir.
But we're really looking back at the year 2025, all that has gone down. Some of you have been with us on this journey, listening to every single one of these podcasts.
Facts.
And it's been a journey. It's been an absolute journey. You know, we wanted to do this end of year episode to really tell you a little bit about the Antigravity Podcast, the genesis, where it came from, who it's for, who did like everything that you see, right? For example, this beat that is dropped in here, you know, this beat is Jerry did that beat, you know.
Yours truly.
Yeah,
From the Antigravity album,
From the
which should be dropping before the end of the year,
which
willing.
I feel they don't even know about.
Yeah. So we'll have some more marketing material and stuff on that. Shout out to Cleon Richardson, the one who's mixing and mastering. Cleon. All right.
Cleon. But we've been having an awesome time on this podcast. When the idea first started off, as a matter of fact, the name was not the Antigravity Podcast yet. Yeah. Remember those conversations, right?
Yeah.
It was actually the Godly Professional Podcast.
Godly Professional.
Because I felt like there was a podcast that was needed for persons within the space of the professionals, right? Persons who work, the working class, needed a podcast that on their way to work, that they would have an opportunity to interface with spiritual content that is not just motivational, but at best, while aligning them to their work, aligns them with their God.
And well, how to marry the two, right? How do you use this alignment with God to navigate situations and challenges in the workplace, right?
And that's when we had a conversation. We was like, when I shared the idea of the Godly Professional with you, you were like, yes, but the challenges that these work people face are not just in the workplace. And that it would extend beyond what they face at work into family life, into friendships, into, other business relationships, etc. And we realized the ubiquitous nature. So we needed something that would represent the ubiquitous nature of the challenges that people within that particular group faces. Now, as long as you work, this podcast is for you, right?
Yep. And even if you don't,
this podcast is for you.
Yep.
Because I think the better angle is then, as long as you're alive.
As long as you're alive, you will find and face challenges.
Yeah.
And if you want to not just live right, but live well, what are the principles you could apply?
Correct.
I always tell people you need three things to navigate life right and navigate life well. You need the presence or power of Christ. You need the principles of Christ. If either of those things are lacking, so what can we do to assist you in that dynamic?
Yeah. And that is where you were working on an album at the time. The Antigravity. The Antigravity album.
I don't even know how that name.
You had to share, bro. You had to share. But,
that's a story.
Yeah.
That's a story.
But I think what the Antigravity represented at the time was, because I remember, like, oh, Godly Professional, Antigravity, like, which one?
And then you asked me, I think you defended the Antigravity title and then said, I need to defend
the Godly Professional.
Which is always a good approach, right? Because now you're getting a better understanding of what the other person is thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, wouldn't that help resolve a lot of conflict and supposedly tenuous situations if, rather than being the first to, be all dogmatic and verbose about your point, you sit down and you say, you know what? Let me try to not only see it from the other person's perspective. Let me see if I could defend their perspective.
And that was...
that was a revolutionary moment.
I think maybe that in itself could frame up into a good story for this episode, right? Because it was hard for me to put myself to the place where, okay, I am really gung-ho about, let me get the Godly Professional Podcast out front. Because we already had like all these designs for it, right?
Yes.
And then you were firm towards the Antigravity bit. And I was like, boy, I had to hold to my own, right?
Yeah.
But then it was hard for me to say, you know what, let me defend Antigravity. And then it was like, okay, let me put it to you, defend Godly Professional.
And at the end of it, we were like, that perspective
Yeah, no, something about that was magical because even not, dare I say, divine, right?
Yep.
Because it required humility to get there.
Yeah.
And that was almost like pushing against the grain. That in itself was an anti-gravity moment.
100%.
Because the gravity was, hey, let me go the way I'd always initially thought of since 2022.
Do what I want to do.
Do what I want to do.
Yep.
And now it's like, let me spend some time to see it from the anti-gravity lens. And so we married both ideas and we realized that anti-gravity was a more ubiquitous way to cover not just what you're going through at work, but to cover what you go through in life. And that's where the podcast had its home.
You know what I likened it to? When Christ says, come now, let us reason together.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a reasoning activity and exercise, and we saw the benefit of it. Because here's the thing, you maintain humility and you maintain respect, and it instantly gives you a better understanding of how this other person you're relating to, how they think, how they see. Right?
Yeah.
So going forward, it's a lot easier to find synergy because I could see why he sees that.
Good. So I actually heard it on I think it was Simon Sinek who was saying he and his wife was having an argument, and the angle was, well, here's all the places where you're wrong. and she was like, well, here's all the places where you're wrong.
Yeah.
And it was a back and forth, like you said, I said, and he was saying, hold up a minute, let's take a step back. Yeah. How about we switch that? And I tell you, here's all the places where you're right. And here's where all the places where I'm wrong. And then she was like,
instantly disarming.
Yeah, and then she was like, well, here's all the places where you're right. And here's all the places where I'm wrong. And then the fuse just started to get, it started to diffuse. And I think it's just a phenomenal strategy when you learn to put yourself in the shoes of the other person across the table. And I guess
in a practical and pragmatic way, not just theoretical, right?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? And so we found ourselves looking at the Antigravity Podcast as its brand. And when you watch our logo, the logo in itself represents the upward and at the same time the downward. That the
designed by.
Yes. It was all in-house talent. So he was on the beat. I was on the design bits, and it was really spirit-breathed, just to think through what is God trying to say through that design. He wants you to go up, but he does not want you to ignore the downward forces that try to keep you down.
Correct.
And throughout the entire life cycle of this podcast, our hope is that it would find you in the places when you're being pressed down, but give you hope that being pressed down does not have to mean destroyed. And I think you go through so many different spaces where there's this gap. You need something that's applicable for your entire situation. You need something that's applicable for what you're going through. And even in my re-listening of some of the episodes that we did in 2025, I found myself encouraged. I found myself encouraged because I have felt the pull. You talk about episode 1 when we looked at, just acknowledging
that you feel that pull.
That there is this pull to do, good as much as there is this pull to do bad.
Yep.
Thomas Aquinas, I think, or St. Augustine, one of the early theologians and philosophers, he put forward the idea that in every human exists a tendency, an equal bend to good as there is
evil.
To evil. And it was like, well, that's kind of the anti-gravity moment, right? And so we left that episode with this idea that, guys, listen, the scope of the audience for this podcast, it's you.
Yep.
Because you feel the pull too.
If you are alive,
you feel that pull. That pull is for the living. And if you're no longer being pulled, then you're dead.
Be it physically or
spiritually.
Because here's the thing, every time you face with that choice, the more you lean into the evil, is the stronger evil becomes. Until you could get to the place where the good side of your conscience is so completely seared, you don't even see any other way than this.
I love that you said it, because there was an episode where you said, or you find your conscience so seared.
So seared.
So seared. It's like, yeah. That's how far you've gotten to your demise, where you don't even feel, the that you're being challenged anymore. And you put it this way. I think probably episode 2, King or Culture. It was if you're not clashing with the devil, it means you're moving in the same direction.
Yeah. If you haven't had a head-on collision, you happily going on the same way.
You're happily going on the same way.
Happily.
So and that was what we wanted to put forward in episode 2, which was, guys, we really have 2 options. And these 2 options will forever remain until you die.
Yeah.
The choice for the king or the choice for the culture.
That's where we came up with Yahweh versus Yahweh.
Yahweh.
It's always going to redound to that.
Yahweh versus Yahweh. And there's this dichotomy that Yahweh versus Yahweh. Yahweh is actually the culture's way. Yahweh
Always.
is that knee-jerk way. Yahweh is your first thought, your first, but let me get a piece of my mind.
And here's the thing, Yahweh may not necessarily be a bad way or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good decision versus a God decision.
Yes.
So if you
Talked
just
about
narrow
that.
it down to, well, right
Yeah.
and wrong, black and white, you
Yeah.
might still miss the mark, right?
You definitely would. And so as we progressed, it was really about recognizing that it's almost like there's a rope on one side, and well, you have this pull for culture, but at the same time you have this pull towards the king.
Yep.
And God engineered us to be pulled towards the king. And as there is this. When we went to James, and we started to talk to this pull. And then James says, yo, whenever you get pulled, count it as joy.
Count it joy.
Count it as joy.
Diverse.
James, when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith will give patience. And it was a unique revelation, because in James, one of the things we found was that when he said count it as joy, that you fall into diverse temptations, one of the things he was leaning towards, he said, knowing this, that the trying
Just
of your
an
faith
exam.
is the trying of your faith, which means the proving of your faith, and the Greek word was the examination of your faith.
Examination of your faith, yeah.
Produces patience.
Yep.
And so it was like, wait. James was saying, listen, anytime you're getting pulled,
It's just an exam.
it's just an exam. So consider the fact that, hey, what I'm going through right now, this person that's possibly getting on your nerves.
Yes,
This
pressing
challenge that
every last one of the wrong buttons, yeah.
that's an exam.
That's just an exam.
As we speak, December is the exam month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I hope by now you'd have gotten your grades and you're pretty happy, right? But it's this notion that what you're going through is an exam. And we progressed talking about that's kind of how you have to frame your fight.
Because you can't get to the next level without that exam. Good. And you also have to appreciate that, okay, when I do an exam at, grade school level, I get into college. I've left the top of grade school, but now I'm starting college essentially from the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah.
So now I have to build new muscle mass. And I've been in the gym. I think that's one of the examples we use. Right?
We
You
did.
can't just bench press 200 pounds unless you're trying to kill yourself. You work your way up. And then when you get to 200 pounds, guess what? Start the cycle over again.
Yeah.
210, 225, 250. It's always
Progressive.
It's always progressive.
That-
So there's never going to be a point in time where you just arrive.
Yeah.
And that's why focusing on the benefits of the journey is so critical.
It's like, we actually talked about it in one of the episodes. The question that should preoccupy your mind then is, what am I becoming? What am I becoming? So it's like, no, Lord, not why this happened to me, why me? No. What do you intend for me to become in the process of what I'm going through?
Listen to me.
Right?
You had shared, this wasn't on the pod, but I think it was a Saturday sermon series. Where was it? It's in Greek or Latin. The word for problem means to push forward.
Push forward.
So the only way to push you forward, to elevate you, is to give you problems.
To give you problems. And so, here's the famous meme was, I don't want peace. I want problems always.
Yep.
That's
You
kind
need
of the
those
goal.
problems too.
But there was a little to push forward.
Yep.
Right. But there was a little bit of a sticker in that, which was, if you don't have new problems, that's a concern.
Because that means you haven't passed the old exam yet.
And it
so you're
means
still over the same.
And you're misusing the opportunities that God sent to push you forward, and you're thinking they're meant to keep you back.
Yep.
And I mean,
you put it quite eloquently. You said it's not about, the question isn't how quickly can I get out of this problem, but what am I supposed to learn from this problem?
From this problem.
Yeah.
To become in this problem.
And the quicker you get to that point, God can say, okay, next.
Because, and the background to that is, hey, God recognized that from the day you came, Jeremiah 29 here. Right?
Yes. Before you were formed in your mother's womb.
Probably Jeremiah 1, right? But Jeremiah, right? Before you were formed, I knew you.
Yeah.
And so God looked at you and said, listen, there will never be another like you, whether before or after. And he recognized, listen, I am making you to be a limited edition. That your mix, your put together, your skills, experience, your story, your giftings, those things come together into that boiling pot of you. And God says, listen, I am making you into a limited edition. But here's what. In order to continue, you are a limited edition and you're born with all of this potential and you're born with all of these propensities. But guess what? Along the way, he's going to have to refine you in the process. And that refining, it's going to come through trials. Yep. It's going to come through exams.
I think we had touched on how in the olden days, as my youngest would say, to refine fire, you needed to heat it repeatedly.
Yeah.
And then throughout each of the heating processes, you would find all the impurities would rise to the surface. Scoop it off. And you would do that over and over until you could see your reflection clearly in that gold.
And I remember my response. My response was, don't you believe that that's what God is doing?
100%.
That he's allowing you to go through the purification of fire so that at the end of fire, when they look at who you are, he could see his reflection
in your character.
God is supposed to be able to turn you around and see his reflection. At best, when people look at you, they're supposed to be able to say, the podcast said it. Surely
this
was the Son of God. In the sense that, remember when Jesus was on the cross, we actually painted that picture in that episode, the fireworks.
The fireworks.
That was, Jesus was dying on the cross, and at the end of his death, Jesus didn't hear this, but it was said of him that surely this was the Son of God.
Yeah.
And that's after he had gone through his fire. And so, in a somewhat like you could say, intertestamental context sense, where you have
intertestamental,
a painting of a picture of a God who shows up in the fire, that when Nebuchadnezzar would have peeked through the furnace and he said,
I see four men in there, although we put three.
I know we put three.
And the fourth one is
looks like the Son of God. I think there's an opportunity that when you've gone through what you've gone through, and at best it is making
even as you're going through it,
as you're being refined, in the process of being changed and transformed, and you're reflecting God, men should be able to say whether or not you hear it. Because remember, the narcissistic spectrum, hey. You
whether
hearing
or not
it,
you hear it.
Yeah, whether
that's
or not you
point.
hear it.
That's the point.
Persons should be able to look and say, hey, listen, surely this was a Son of God.
Yeah. I told you I've been in situations where people just looked at how I was handling the adversity.
Yeah.
And they say, you are a church boy or something? Because the expectation is the dignity, the grace with which you're handling this adversity speaks to there must be some higher power that you are answering to. Otherwise, it's like, how?
Yeah. People gonna watch that, And when God himself observes, and when Satan observes that you're capable of handling more.
Well, that's the nature of it, right? We remember I had shared what the imagery around a blessing is.
Yeah.
This heavy camel skin type backpack filled with nutrients for you and those in your care. And then character is the strong shoulders. So God develops the strong shoulders, the character, so you could carry the blessing suitably. And once God realizes he can trust you with more, guess what he does? He gives you more. So sometimes we are always, Lord, if you could just create this situation, this circumstance, if you could just bless me with this thing or even bless me with this relationship. And God is like, get ready for it. No?
Yeah.
Get ready for it and then I will.
The reward for
good work is
more work. And not that work is not bad. So those of you who don't like work, work is not sin.
What did the man say? 6 days you're supposed to work,
Work. And do all thy work.
Yeah. And the seventh is right. Okay.
But it was a recognition. I think we brought that home. That the greater the purpose, the greater the pull.
Always.
you know, and you're gonna feel that along the way. And God wants you to know that you don't worry about. That's just how it's set up.
Yeah.
Right?
I think was it Myron Golden who said it like this? Disruption always follows intention. The minute you set your heart to do the right thing or to do a thing, disruption will follow. So it's not necessarily to take the disruption as a sign to shirk from your duty. Now it's like, oh well, this is the expectation of.
That's what's going on. You know, and as we go through and you listen to the podcast that was launched in December, you would have appreciated too the natural progression of the episodes, you know, like from post-traumatic trauma, just looking at the growth that happens after you've gone through what you go through.
As a gym guy, you have to touch on how did you put it pretty eloquently again, that let me see if I could quote you. Basically, the growth in the muscles happens after they're torn through the exercise, right?
Yes, you know, and that's how the muscle grows. It's funny because you go to the gym or you go to exercise, and the goal is to tear the muscle, micro tears in muscle.
Micro tears, right?
Right, and those micro tears, when the muscle heals back, it heals back better and stronger. And it's funny that before you could become strong, you must first be beaten, or at best, I mean.
Yeah.
The actuality of what happens within the muscle, the muscular fibers, is broken. So you have to be broken before you could be, you know, better. Right?
Broken to better.
Broken to better.
That sounds like a whole other
that's
episode right there.
It sounds like an episode, you know. But that's just a funny it's a funny setup, and I think I was explaining it to some students where I think behind the door of every difficulty is discovery. You know, behind the door of pain.
So you will just drop a bar like that. Behind the door of every difficulty.
Hey, speaking of which,
is a discovery.
Shameless plug for the Antigravity Unpack That. We're launching an actual short YouTube short series. It's gonna be on the platforms where some of these little tidbits that we say, you know,
these tweetable phrases.
We need to unpack that
for sure.
So look forward to that as well, definitely. But I was looking at this model of difficulty discovery, pain gain.
Every pain point has a gain point.
Every pain point has a gain point. And that's just how God set it up. You know, and you made the point that there would be no resurrection if there was no crucifixion.
Correct.
And so that
no pain of crucifixion, no joy of resurrection.
Not even Jesus was spared from the privilege of pain.
Count it all joy, right? Count it all joy. Yep.
Bad English, good manners.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, Jesus himself had to ask, Lord, if it be possible,
let this cup pass.
Let this cup pass me.
So when we are praying and asking God to spare us from all pain, and even if we don't do it verbally, I think it's almost like our inclination. We want progress with as little pain, suffering, ruffling of our feathers as possible. So you're asking to have it easier than even Christ himself? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
And he had it hard.
Yeah.
You know, he is the greatest anti-gravity
What did he say? Know you not that you must through much tribulation enter. Yeah, it's not. And the tribulation may not always be. Listen, some of the greatest challenges or torments we could face are mental, emotional. Yeah. You know, if you think physical pain is a thing, you go through a proper heartbreak in colloquial parlance at a banker. Yeah. Listen to me.
Yeah. Word.
One proper heartbreak will spin you around, drop you on your head, and may have you, re-examining life.
Most definitely.
But you can't get to the end state without those things. And what's funny is, sometimes we believe we have to sanitize our story. The fact that you went through some of these grievous things and you came out, tried, tested, but triumphant. That is what educates, inspires, and empowers others. So if you aren't willing to embrace that story, you are robbing others
of that opportunity.
Because now what you're saying is the only way for you to learn what I learned is to go through it yourself. I always tell people mentorship is the best way to learn because you're learning from other people's experience as opposed to having to go through it. If you started a business and you went broke, I want to be able to find out what you did and didn't do so I could avoid some of those pitfalls, right? I don't want to have to.
If I see this man get burned, I know, hey, I'd rather go down this road to get burned too,
correct.
right? No, but that's the benefit. Christ is a good mentor. He went down the path, and in some ways, he wants you to go down your path too, which you could always look unto Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, endured his pain, and despised the shame.
Ooh, listen to me.
Sit down.
That is sit down on the right hand.
On the right hand of the Father.
And that is, I guess, part of the inspiration for us, even as we get into 2026 and the challenges it will face.
Yes.
That we will face. Look beyond the pain to the promise. What the enemy tries to do is get us to be so hyper-focused on the pain, we don't even realize the promises.
What's happening to me? What's happening to me?
What am I likely to lose? What I'm going through? And we start to, whine and complain.
And I think that, let me just hop on that to provide hope, right? 2026 will come with its own set of unpredictable things.
100%.
You and I have no clue what is going to happen in 2026. But I think there's one thread of truth that remains. Is that as long as you continue to go through these exams, as long as you continue to embrace the decision to always go the king's way as opposed to culture's way, we're not promising that it's going to be a bed of roses. But what we are promising is that there's a place for everybody who chooses to go anti-gravity. And it's a theme that has been untouched in this episode. But anybody who continues to make the Christ-like decision when they could make... Who continues to make the Yahweh decision when they could make the Your Way decision. These people belong in heaven.
100%.
And I think we let us allow our 2026 to be crafted by a desire to belong in places that we had to go through trials, through difficulty, through pain.
Get there.
And I think one of the things I would want to remind persons of is, I think you put it that way. Is it that way? And you could correct me if I'm wrong. Pain is only suffering if it has no purpose. Or is it?
No, 100%.
100%. Pain is only suffering
if it has no purpose.
And may your pain have purpose in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, the Antigravity Podcast, it's been a good time with y'all. 2025.
Bigger and better
as
things.
You go into 2026, we pray the good Lord will be with you in every single way.
Yeah, man. Listen, them strings. Them strings. Listen. Well, he hasn't. Well, he'll hear pieces of it.
Yeah, I think he will.
My kids are actually on those strings. One's doing violin, one doing cello.